Evil Dead 2013. Now, this is the second to last Evil Dead review that I will be doing in this series. Evil Dead Rise, I'm actually going to have to watch again tonight. I'm going to do that right after this review is over. Actually, I guess the third to last, because I'm going to review Evil Dead Burn after I go see it. I'm really excited for that. But in any case, Evil Dead 2013 is a horror film directed by Fede Alvarez and stars Jane Levy. And I don't know anyone else about I don't know about anyone else in the film, because just like how I said Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness were like the Bruce Campbell show, this is the Jane Levy show. Am I getting her name right? Jane Levy? God, I'm terrible with names today. I hope so. She is such... Yeah, I think that's her name. She is such a good actress. I'm sorry, I do all of this based on memory, so if you're not into that, bye. But this movie is... It was definitely one of the scarier movies that I saw in my adolescence. So I saw this movie when I was about 14 years old. I was 13 or 14, and I saw it at a friend's house. I don't remember which one it was, whether I saw it on HBO with the one friend first, or at my other friend's house on a burned DVD disc. But either way, it was an incredible experience. The DVD disc was a much better experience because his dad was like sitting in the background while we watched the movie. He was just chilling. He had like a piece of exercise equipment, and he was just sitting back there like this. And he'd be drinking his beer, smoking his cigarette, watching the movie. And there were three of us. We were all lined up on the couch, and this intense scene was happening. I don't remember what it was, but he just lets out this blood-curdling screech. It scared the hell out of all three of us, and it was great. But let me now get into the film instead of my experience surrounding the film, which I've already talked about if you watched my every horror movie I've ever seen video. So Evil Dead 2013 is a really, really great horror movie, and I've heard some conflicting opinions on that in terms of like, I don't like the Deadite dialogue. It feels like it. I think mainly that was just we watched a movie that had said that it feels like if like a fifth grader wrote Deadite dialogue because they're always saying cuss words and stuff. But I don't personally think that, and I don't personally think that because I think demons probably would cuss. You know, this movie here that's advertised on my shirt, The Exorcist, is very well known for being extremely profane. The demon says some pretty unsavory shit in that movie. And so I don't really think that it's super out of character for these Deadites to cuss. They're demons, you know? And getting into the Deadites, they are terrifying in this movie. Never have the Deadites been so scary. Oh my god. The things that they do, bud. Where she's like shaving her face off with the glass when they find her, and then she turns around, she just starts like clicking at him for some reason. I don't know if that's her mouth or like her bones as she's turning. That's horrific. Some of them, what I don't like, I will say that there are a couple of scenes that seem like, and I'm sorry, these are very all over the place. I don't have my likes and dislikes organized into their distinct own little categories. But something I do dislike about this movie is there are some Deadites that seem very zombie-ish, like the one that I mentioned just now, where she's like sawing her face off with a piece of glass. She doesn't really talk all that much, and that does kind of take away from it, because you're not a zombie, you're a demon. Why aren't you talking? But I don't know. Oh well, it's something that I can easily look past. But In any case, back to the Deadites being horrific. They are very sadistic in this film. And that's something that I do really like, because I think that goes back to the original Evil Dead, where, in my opinion, the Deadites in that are like, I don't know if I said these were the scariest earlier. I'm sorry if I said that. The Deadites in the original The Evil Dead, to me, are the scariest, just because of how uncanny they look and everything. But they also are extremely sadistic. Not as sadistic as these Deadites. Holy hell. These guys are like putting nails in people's body and cutting cheeks off and like boiling their host alive with water. It's deranged. This whole movie is deranged, and I love it for it. This movie really goes for it, and I understand the movie's been out since 2013, and I'm sitting here reviewing it like it's a brand new horror movie. I don't know what you want from me, dude. Like, I'm just a guy on the internet that talks about movies. What do you want from a review of a movie that's from 2013? Get out of my face. You clicked on the video. But, this movie really does go for it. It is more violent than a good majority of, especially American movies. This movie honestly kind of branches into some form of extremism, if not outright extremism, at least ultra-violence, which there's a bit of a distinction, I think, where extremism is usually something that's disturbing. Ultra-violence can be anything. Like Dead Alive is ultra-violent. That movie's not disturbing. But there are also a couple of things in this movie that happen that when they happen, you wince. Like, you yourself wince, and you just felt that. Like, there's a scene that I'm sure you're aware of. You've probably seen the movie, where a machete comes through and it slides across the chick's kneecap, and then it just like whoop, right back out. Every single time that gets me, dude. And then like the needle in his eye. This movie has some gnarly practical effects, some really messed up, just conceptually messed up things that happen to people. I enjoy the demonic voices, which can be over the top, definitely, in a lot of movies. I feel like this movie does it pretty well. It is over the top, but it's also Evil Dead. I love the score in this movie. The score in this movie that's like almost borderline operatic and very dramatic and slightly erratic. Okay, the slightly erratic part I just said because it rhymed. But the other two parts still stand. Red fish, blue fish, one fish, two fish. I really love that score. It is a very creepy score. The opening to this movie lets you know immediately. It sets the tone of what this movie's gonna be, which is through and through fuckery. You better buckle your seatbelt, brother, because you are in for a wild ride. And that's exactly what this movie takes you on, is a wild ride. The characters, I will say, I mean, they aren't the best. The acting from everyone is really solid, though. I don't think there's a bad actor or actress in this whole movie. And then, adversely, that might be the word I'm looking for. When I'm looking at Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, where it's like, it's the Ash Williams show, as I said earlier, this is the Mia show. Mia is the character in this movie. There's a little bit of character development that happens with the others, but they're not really the focus. It is 100% about Mia, and she is great. She is a recovering addict, which is the whole reason. I also think that's just a great excuse as to why they would be staying there, because they just think she's making shit up. Great. Fantastic excuse. Anyway, she's a recovering addict who they're trying to flush the drugs out of her system. They're trying to help her quit. And she goes through some character development in this movie, where she essentially learns to be strong. You know, the whole movie, well, in the beginning of the film, she's struggling with addiction, and then she's like snapped into reality real quick, and she has some very close brushes with death, and she has to overcome them. And the way she overcomes them makes her one of the most badass final girls ever. She's like, she might be Mount Rushmore final girl. She's at least top five. Um, the crazy end of the movie where the sky opens. It literally says at some point in the movie, this when what 6 souls are claimed, the sky will open and rain red with blood, and the abomination will rise from hell. The imagery on that is unmatched. The flaming cabin and the flaming tree in the background, all of the blood pouring down from the sky. She's drenched in blood. This abomination looks just like her, and it's like she's fighting her inner demons. Well, just like her, but like a demonic, fucked up version. And it's like she's fighting her inner demons. I'll swallow your soul. Swallow this, fucker. And she sticks her stump into the chainsaw and sticks the chainsaw in its mouth and just absolutely. I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but you probably know what I was going to say. And that's what she does to that thing. She rails its fucking face, and it's great. The whole conclusion is amazing. I think the whole movie's amazing. Evil Dead 2013 is like it's up there in terms of my favorite horror movies of all time. In terms of a rating, that's hard to say, man, because it's got a couple of flaws for sure, in that the characters are like, they're not the great. You don't care about a whole lot of them. They try and get you to care about some of them. You don't really. But I mean, shit, man. There's so much good about this movie, and it's so effective. And yes, occasionally the dialogue can be a little over the top, for sure. There are a couple of scenes that definitely come off as over the top, but you know what? It's at least an 8.5. Let's call her an 8.5. I love Evil Dead 2013. Probably my second or third favorite movie in the franchise. I mean, Evil Dead's a really, really difficult one for me to rank, because like The Evil Dead to me is the scariest movie of all time, probably. So that puts it way up there. But then Evil Dead 2 is like the perfect horror comedy, puts that way up there. And then Evil Dead 2013 is just a movie that I have so much personal love for, in terms of the practical effects and the main character and the actress who portrays her, and even like some of the lore that they added of how you can kill the Deadites, which I don't think was in the original. I think the original was just dismemberment, if I'm not mistaken. And even some of I sort of hesitate to call it clever, because he does end up dying anyway, but like the clever way that they used the suffocation one to bring him back, which was probably just written into the movie, suffocation being a way you can kill them, literally just written into the movie so they could bring him back and so he could make his heroic sacrifice or whatever. But I don't really care. This is, yeah, I'm calling it an 8.5. Evil Dead 2013 is an 8.5. I cannot wait to see Evil Dead burn, and I will hopefully be reviewing Evil Dead Rise tonight. If not, I don't know, dude. I'll review it at some point. Get off my back. I'm the only one that's on my back about that. It's okay. I'll probably do it tonight. I'll see you guys on the next one.